I'm gonna say it. Being a Paddington fan is a full-time job, and I'm tired of pretending it's not. Especially over the last couple years, since the second one took the world by storm. Paddington has kind of risen to the top of the internet's favorite characters, and it's not by mistake. Wait a minute, just before I get into this, someone DM'd me and asked me why I make these like super weird anonymous type videos. I don't do it because it like looks cool. I just don't have that good lighting, I guess. And I film these kind of late. It's like 12 o'clock right now. And it's not like a self-confidence thing. Like, I'm okay with people knowing what I look like. If you've seen my short films, I look like this. It's like, it's not that. You know what? I'm just gonna make it easier. Okay, getting back to what I was saying. People love his movies a lot. And when the internet collectively enjoys something, there will invariably be a group of people who won't like that thing purely because other people enjoy it. You see, in economics, there's this theory or figure called economies of scale. Basically, it states that the more of something that you buy, the more expensive it gets. But when you achieve economies of scale, that means you reach a point where you're buying so much, the price of what you're buying actually goes down. People have noticed this way before me, but I'm gonna coin a term. It's what I like to call cinema scale. It basically operates on the principle that you care about what people think about movies that you like, but that's beside the point. Basically, as you go up, the more people like it, but it reaches a point where it gets so popular that people dislike it for being so popular. And that's essentially the journey of most popular things, especially movies. Think about it. Parasite, when it won Best Picture. La La Land was an overrated movie for a few minutes before it went back to being an underrated masterpiece that was robbed. But talking about Paddington 2 specifically, especially throughout the last year with quarantine introducing Paddington to a whole new audience of bitter adults with repressed trauma. And with all this talk earlier this year about Paddington taking over Citizen Kane as the best movie on Rotten Tomatoes, it got a lot of people questioning why exactly Paddington was so universally beloved. It's one of the few movies, in my opinion, that people of all ages, all backgrounds, all sexualities, political ideologies can enjoy, which is ironic considering the subtext of the movie. But the question of why is what I'm going to try and answer in this video. Why does everyone love Paddington 2? To begin with, we have to talk about the age range of people who enjoy these sort of films. I said in my last post that Paddington is undoubtedly a character created for children. But unlike a lot of characters, I don't think that ruins the fun for an older audience member. I asked you on my story if you thought Paddington films were appropriate for people aged over 15, which is about, I think, the oldest age that the Paddington books and movies are aimed at. And it was a pretty healthy 80-20 split. I think the first and most obvious reason people of all ages like Paddington is because he's unknowingly funny. The hijinks that he gets into in the movie are pretty funny and rely heavily on physical humor, which also means it includes people who may not understand English. It harkens back to the silent film era, I think, when all you really had was a score and an image to make something funny. And there's even a reference to the old Charlie Chaplin movies in the second one. The departure of relying on people saying witty remarks at each other and making sort of topical references closes the film off to people who may not understand English or may not even get the reference. That's not to say there aren't any good vocal jokes, but they're not done in a way that sort of detaches you from the story. Wait, I'm gonna take a seat. It's really, really hot. We also talked in the last post about how he's virtually a perfect character, sometimes to a fault. By the character's very nature, it's often the other characters in the film that change instead of him. So, unlike a traditional protagonist, he's unwaveringly good. I hate to be a boomer and like, oh, back in my day, but I feel like that's kind of hard to come by, you know? Someone who is just good because they know what's right. I think people use sarcasm so much these days, like I do as well. So when a character is so pure and charmingly oblivious in that sense, it's kind of surprising. In a way, you sort of want to be like that. I think part of his charm is that he was raised with manners. And here's the irony, the human characters around him act more like animals than he does. And he's a bear. Do you get it? And he also isn't like other sort of talking animals in films where he's like loud and obnoxious and and really goofy or whatever. He's sort of just himself. He's just like a polite bear. Okay, moving on to the thing that's probably the most likable about Paddington is the kind of underdog immigrant kind of story that he has in the movies. If you didn't know, the Paddington films are effective metaphors for the immigrant experience. A talking bear who's a stowaway who comes to London to start a new life after being sent away by his aunts who lives in a developing country. He arrives in London expecting to be greeted with some kind of acceptance, but most people are too self-involved to do so. If not for Mrs. Brown's strong belief not to assume the worst in people, Paddington wouldn't have a home. Which leads to why people love Paddington so much, is because of his effect on other people. Right from the beginning of the second film, you can see the effect he has on his community. It's bright and beautiful, and everybody gets along with each other, and everyone's happy, and he kind of elevates the community. He's told that if he wants to buy a book for his aunt's birthday, he has to make the money for it, and he does. He just gets to it. He just gets to cleaning the whole neighborhood, and by doing this, he brings so much joy and happiness to them. He literally brings down the barrier between someone allowing them to see what's been in front of them all along. He has antagonistic forces like Mr. Curry, who acts as sort of a stand-in for someone who's sort of silently racist. Even towards the end, comparing how Mr. Brown used to feel towards Paddington in the community to how he feels about Paddington in the community at the end of the second film, fully rejecting the dismissiveness of Mr. Curry.
We don't want him here!
You never have. As soon as you set eyes on that bear, you made up your mind about him. Well, Paddington's not like that. He looks for the good in all of us, and somehow he finds it.
And later on in the film, when Paddington goes to jail, you see how much the community... Hi. That's a KFC delivery man. Who's eating KFC at 4:22? Yeah, later on in the film, when Paddington's gone to jail and you see how much the community has suffered because of him being gone, you see how sad and drab everything has become. And at the end, when the Browns are going to help him, the whole community stands behind him and the Brown family. He's an integral part of the community, and at the end of the movie, he's alive because he was a nice person. People care about him because he cares about them. He isn't sour or sarcastic, he's just a good bear. On some level, me and you in the audience want to be like Paddington. We want to be appreciated, and we want to appreciate the people in our communities. And it may sound corny or trite, but in the repeating mantra in the film, what Paddington says often is, if we're kind and polite, the world will be right. People like him so much because he appeals to the part of ourselves that we want to be. We want to be accepting and appreciative of what we have. And people like the film so much because it's so clear how much effort and love and care has gone into making these. It's not a crappy kids movie with cheap story beats and characters you don't care about. They're characters you care about and their relationships. We're so used to seeing the self-referential, sarcastic bro kind of humor where it's like when there's finally a moment of pause, where a movie is so unpretentious and so charming, it kind of stops everyone. There's so much care put into making these movies. Oh, it's getting hot. I think I can identify with wanting to be cool and self-referential, and sometimes I am, but I'll be honest, it might sound corny, but the Paddington movies are the only movies that really make me look inward because of how effective the writing is. It makes me believe that I can affect change without compromising my own beliefs. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Go follow Sam Trash Maestro on Instagram. He made the cover to my last post. He's very good. Go follow him. Do it now. I'm waiting. Come on. Just click off the. Just go follow him. Trash Maestro. I'll tag him in the thing. Just click his name. He's great. Go follow him. That's about it. I'll be back next week for my Fast and Furious video. Goodbye.